one of the things you said in your last video, which really struck me as direct and true, was that one of the reasons I come out here, maybe even the reason, is to learn how to be a source of this wisdom, how to do this, how to be this myself.
Seems like you're on the right path. Because you're here. If you stay here, so to speak, then you are here. If you stay here. So you have to learn how to stay here so that you are here. Now, I'm certain that's not what you expected to hear. But that's the case every time you come. What was he talking about? So, like you were doing with the camera, you have to take a shot of it, so you have it. So you have to take a mental shot of this, a psychic shot of this, so that you have it, and it stays with you. So, and if it's clear, and then you see it more clearly. Because you need to hear it so that you hear it more clearly. Yeah. Because this is not talking about your karma. Your karma is, a storm. Our karmic situation is by nature a storm. And we're talking about the underneath, source of it. We're not talking about the superstructure, we're talking about the foundation. So foundation consciousness is the same in everybody. You have to get beyond your superstructures. Self-superstructures. Thought superstructures. And mind superstructures, right? And world superstructure. And get down to the foundation. And therefore, people recommend that you just breathe into the foundation. Breathe into being the foundation. That's a start. But that's not enough. If that was enough, you wouldn't be here. Because you can do that much any way you want.
Yeah. And, having been here, having come here for years now, I see this type of wisdom and it kind of show up in me or for other people here and there from time to time. It's sort of in a progression. And
a form of familiarization is what you're speaking about. Yeah. And you do take it on. See? It's doable. It's breathable. See? It's understandable. It's recognizable. It's penetratable. See? And the question is it realizable in your time and space? That's the gap you have to close. See? Mm-hmm. What's the gap you're closing right now? You're closing the gap. It's no longer distant fantasy.
So is the question, can I close the gap or can the gap close? Still a valid question?
Well, it's a figure of speech to close the gap. I would say it's like atonement, at-one-ment. Can you pay the debt that closes the gap? It's true for everyone. Can anyone, you, they, them, can it close the gap so that you are at one, at peace with it? So you know that you're at one with it when you're at peace with it. Doesn't mean you like it, but you're at peace with it. But you don't have any emotions about it. It's like being at peace with your bed. You don't have any emotions about it. You just get on it. You prepare your pillow for your head. Right, you roll your covers up or whatever, and being at peace with it, you're okay with it. You know that you don't have to think about anything to get your rest. See? And you hope you don't have too many things on your mind that are overwhelming you. See? Obstructing you, slipping into infinite bliss.
There's a tendency, I think, as a practitioner, as someone who,
Remember, there are no tendencies. But in the mind of the practitioner, it could be seen as such. See, because what you're looking at, what you're observing is your blood line and your ancestral influences that use you, that manifest through you. And you believe that's you. These are forces and programs that manifest through everybody, and everybody's busy believing and trying to figure out what the problem is. The problem is you're believing your ancestral stuff is you, and only you, and actually totally, completely you, and that's, you already know that's not possible. It's not true. Only you are living your experience of you. So you need to know which time world you have chosen or have that is predominating your consciousness. See? So it could be the past, history, memory, and what's already been said and done millions of times before by your own line. What you need to know now, what you need to do now, what you need to create now for you. See, so that you can be a better you, so to speak, a more complete and whole you. See, that's why this is important. This is not about your theatrics and programs, your tendencies as such. See, those beggings, the beggars, right? The beggars come there with, hey, can I have this? Can I have that? Please, I need it. Right? Of your own mind, right? The inner beggars. There are thousands of them. Mm-hmm. And you have to say, oh, I'm not a part of that anymore. I'm not begging, I'm being now. I'm clearing so that I can have more being. I'm simplifying so that I can create more. Rather than, as it has been, participate in the created. You want to participate now in the creative flow. That means you have to stop. Bring some cessation to all the beggars. The din of your own mind. Got to do this, got to do that. This is more important, that's less important. She's better, he's better, this is better, and so on and so on. This is worse, all of that. Zero. Right here. Zero. And let the zero create for you. Let it manifest itself. There's no conflict in that process. It's a process of abiding in beingness itself. Simple, clear. Nothing to do with people and disturbances and information. It's you and the earth and maybe the sun. Right? The light that keeps you alive. Basic. I'm not saying that should dominate your consciousness, but it shouldn't be dominated by noise, confusion, stupidity, neuroses, nonsense. You need to come back to zero. You need to sense the so-called proverbial kingdom within. A peace. Zero. Spirit. Zero. Consciousness. Clear. Awareness. Practice. Too easy for you. Good luck. The easiest is hardest, and the hardest is easiest.
Seems to happen when I leave, when I go, wander the earth. 'Cause I build up a lot of questions, a lot of noise, and for example, that last section.
Well, you're not sure you build them up to there already. See, the question is in there, and the answer is also in there. Good.
Yeah. Well, in the first 5 minutes of that last clip, I didn't remember what most of them were, and by 10 minutes I didn't really care.
And you didn't suffer that.
I
There's
didn't
no
suffer.
Because the questions, if there are questions of relevance in terms of spiritual practice, they're really questions about how soon you can realize zero, heart melt, zero heart melt, zero heart radiance. See? How soon you can realize that. All the questions about that. It's like, when? It's now. Where? Right here. Sorry to disappoint you. We need to know where that is. Where are we right here? Where are we right now? See? That's an important question. And some techniques would require that you actually say that. See? You remind yourself, where am I right now? Who am I right now? What am I right now? Where am I right now? See? So that you can somehow or other collapse the storm into the simplicity of being here, which is basic. That's why it's sometimes really funny. Yeah, where else can you be? See? So the issue then is, how do you fulfill, because you're being here, you need to know anything. You need to ask any questions or solve any problems for yourself.
I guess the question one, where is this hesitation coming from, and what is it for, in terms of just
blood.
Asking a question?
It's all blood. It's not coming from outside you. It's all blood born. It's your born karma. Yeah? Blood, patterns, programs, ancestral hauntings. See? Nothing wrong with it. But you have to somehow, like flies and mosquitoes, sort of fend them off. See? Send them away. See? So that you have your peace of mind, which is never disturbed, actually. You just have to know how to access it and know what it really is once you have perceived what it really isn't. And that's what practice is about. Paying attention to what it isn't, so that what's left is what it really is. There may be zero left, and that's what it really is. Yeah. Zero. And that would also translate into pure spirit. Zero. No waves, no thought. Non-material. Maybe even non-perceivable. See? It's definitely unthinkable. Unreasonable. See? So we have to be okay with that. And then this proposition, practice meaning going deeper, then the zillions of superficial levels of consciousness you've already assumed in the form of information that you use to validate yourself, see, one way or another, for one reason or another. See. We are not information, we're capable of it, because it's the nature of the mind, to absorb, to take, receive, and put out. It's like the breathing process. It's inflow, outflow. See. You fed your mind, everybody's doing it, way, way, way more than you really need to know. Now you need to know what you really need to know is important to you to help you balance out your tendency, right? Programming ancestrally given, born, towards suffering. And we're talking about unnecessary suffering, mechanical suffering. That's all it is. When you have the opportunity to look dead in its face, stare it down. Say, what are you doing? Who are you? What is all this? I'm zero. I'm spirit, pure. What's up? Let it go. Then you're minding your own business in my book. Then your own business is no business. Right? There's no business like no business. You've heard that before. And that's practice. See, minding the no business, the no busyness. And that's a level that's already built into us. See, it's original stillness, it's there. And that's what you're open to in all practices, all sciences, all arts. See, all forms of creation. It's where the stillness is, where the intelligence is, the purest, so it can come through, if it's allowed to come through. Sometimes it has to fight to come through. Sometimes, like in the case of Thomas Alva Edison and others of his type, they had to sleep, and then it came through. Take a nap, then they'd see it, they'd hear it. And some would say, well, then they access the higher plane, or they're just open to what it is. They relax, they gave up. Boom, they gave up. Right? They stopped struggling with it.
Coming to terms with seeking what can't be found. What does one stop
No,
seeking?
the question is what? What is the what? We need to know what the what is that can't be found. What that can't be found. Because it's already here. How are you going to find what's already here? Any other place? Profound simplicity. Right. Yeah, we can say that the answer to those types of questions that you have, say, that have to do with ability and inability, and so-called relative timing and all of this, they are irrelevant in this moment, because this is what you want now, is the clarity and the peacefulness of being able to feel that you're one, say, not scattered, but that you're okay with your being. See? It's that simple. You're okay with your being. I'm not saying everybody is in the same way, because you have to have evolved to a point where you understand what I mean by being okay with your being. See? There's nowhere else to be. Everything else is part of the problem. All of the elsewhere, karma, is the issue. See? It's avoiding. It avoids just being okay with your own being. So you got to make sure that whatever you're doing is in the, let's say, highest interest of you being okay with what you're being. Your beingness. See? Basic beingness, not who or what, just isness. Basic isness. See? And the more time we spend in the clarity of the basic level of isness, whether it's in the house, out of the house, driving the car, on the can, flying in the aircraft, at work, outside, whatever the situation is that you have arranged for your self-life, doesn't matter. This is always here. Your being is always enabling you to do whatever it appears to be that you have to do. It's never anywhere else, but it's your core. So you have to be true to core being. If you're not true to core being, then you're scattered. You're all over the place. At worst, you have to depend upon other beings to help you find out where your being is. Say, I've lost my bearings on my being. I can't find my being anywhere. Buddy, you're in trouble. Buddha, you're in trouble, Buddha. So to speak. So it's not the question then that matters relative to any particular issue. It's the being and the beingness, the foundation. See? And having access to that, out of which comes solutions. Once we understand that solutions come from the deepest part of us, not just our heads and memory. Real solutions. Creative solutions, spontaneous solutions, not mechanical solutions. See, self-arising solutions, see, what we need to access. Yeah, through relaxation. Coming to be okay with your being. You're not believing, you don't believe it. See, it's not about a belief. See, there's no believing in this, there's no faith in it, because it is what it is, so there's no faith. See, there's no other. See, it just is. You have to know there's no other, but true being, presently. See, doesn't matter what you call it. It doesn't care what you call it. I've called it many names, but it's no name. It's the no name. It's the no word. It's the no one. Being is not necessarily talking, but it's also not talking. So we have to have a sense of openness to the subtlety of, let's say, whatever being means.
Can you explain? What do you mean by?
What do you mean by
subtlety? I mean,
yeah. There's no doubt. So you're breathing your being. So that's what it means. It's a being your being. Are you strong enough to be your being? Or are you well enough to be your being? I think that's the best, powerful statement. Are you well enough to be your being? Okay. In the light of that comment, which is like dropping the plunger into the water, see, towards the hole, the drain. You want to plug the drain. Yeah. Searching. Are you well enough? Are you well enough to hear your mind? Are you well enough to see your thought? And with a see your thought, I mean it's the thought you have to deal with, not the thought who you are, but the thought that is streaming. See, talking about the stream thought, streamlining, streaming in. And that has to be converted to the no thought.
wellness in what sense? Wellness in what sense?
Wellness?
Yeah, are you well enough?
Are you well enough? Right. Whole enough? Are you at peace enough? See, what other sense could there be? See.
Well, what does wellness have to do with it?
Wellness. You mean goodness. Has
Yeah.
everything to do with it. Because that's the question of why you or anybody else would be neurotic relative to your original wellness. And avoiding it, missing the point all the time. See. Creating a storm, sustaining the storm, validating the storm of unwellness. There's something missing. Unwellness, division, conflict. So wellness means okay with your being. Okay with own being. Original being. Very difficult to do for many. Have no sense of what that is. And yet they're being it, but they don't have any sense of what it is.
The Buddhist metaphor that seems closest to that point is attempting to taste one's own tongue. It's kind of a
Eating your own tongue?
trying tasting what.
You mean eating your own tongue?
Sure.
It's a good thing to do. If you only could. It's like eating your own mind. Right? Right? Eating yourself. Yeah. In that case, you're eating yourself into well-being, into your ownness, right? Own being. And no being. So if it's one being, it's no being. It's without being. Being is without being. If you like. Wellness is without wellness, if you like. So, only if you like. Yeah, just breathing. It's good. Only if you like.
I keep coming back to the question, are there any specific skills or...
You're looking for things.
Yeah.
There are no things. See, there are no things. You're searching for things. It's like saying you're searching for clutter. You're searching for noise. See, you're searching for noise. See? I can't stand the silence. Can I please have some noise? Will someone hit a pan over my head, please? So it's begging for enlightenment. It's not begging for enlightenment. We say, you've heard it said, or you've read it perhaps. Enlightenment, if there's such a thing, is just so. Just so what? Just so who? And just so why? And then just so. Then just. And then so. So. And if there's so, there's no. So there's no no.
There's a certain thing that I have trouble letting go in this situation, which is the expectation that I'm going to ask a question.
Who asked the question?
Yeah.
So it's a question of who asks any question. No. So questions are asked and no questions are asked at the same time. In what is called conventional thinking, you ask a question is a real big deal. And it warrants an answer, or you get angry and you start throwing your cameras around. And we're in a room, microphones and cameras are flying around. All because of a question that wasn't answered. And that there's a good summary of exactly what some people refer to as the state of enlightenment relative to the resistance to enlightenment. By all means necessary. The resistance to letting go. The resistance to no clinging, no attachment. See, the resistance to cessation. The resistance to enlightenment, possibility. It's a possibility, that's it. The resistance to openness. The resistance to the heart, see. The heart of so what, see. And also in the bigness of the so what is the need to know things. See? But the knowing of things then are also so what. See? So neither good nor bad. Then the question is just a question because it's asked as a question. So then the question asked as a question is no question. And the answer that comes with it is also no answer. So it's no big deal.
So why is that resistance there? Why do we show up with that?
You have to ask your resistance. Why does it arise? Why is it so effective? So, you must ask it for yourself. Because it's arising in you. As you say, we're going to trust you saying what it is for you. If you know what it is. And you feel all this resistance, you feel these obstructions, you feel all these mechanisms. That's because part of your human bornness. It's born. It's blood. We are not that. We're not only that. We are not here to be dominated by that, actually. When you go deeper, you see none of that exists. There's no blood deeper. There's no karma deeper. There's nothing deeper. See? When you get to deeper, it's nothing. And so the nothing is the balance of the everything that appears. See? So then nothing appears. So you have to get to that place where nothing's appearing while it seems to be appearing, right? Before your very eyes. See? Yeah. Nothing's appeared. See? So it is said that there's nothing to be gained. So the nothing then is everything. It's everything. So when you hear the so-called guide or whatever they say, there's nothing to be gained, you say, oh, good, great, fantastic, wow, that's it. Those are the code words. Nothing to be gained. Nothing is being gained. Your highest gain is nothing. Spirit. It's nothing. Zero. Completion, perfection, excellence already. People think otherwise. Well, of course you think otherwise. That's what thinking is about. Confusion. Beside the point.
Is feeling like something is a big deal a sure sign that
It's a big deal.
it's
that could
confused?
Be making anything a big deal can be too much of a big deal. So there's no bigger deal. No big deal. And then there's the no big deal. And we can say, in a manner of speaking, that is a certain kind of movement towards the middle ground, say, which is also the no middle ground. You have to be willing to tolerate the no middle ground of the middle ground. The no you of the you, say. The no being of the being. The no truth of the truth. The no God of the God, say. The no master of the master. The no real of the real. The no spirit of the spirit.
The idea of focus, or the act of focusing.
It's a figure of speech.
Yeah.
In this place there's no word, so focus is a word. So we need to allow ourselves the luxury of saying, well, it's a real word. Focus is a real word. See, it means something. Right. Yeah. As opposed to unfocused. Right. Scattered. So we have focus and we have scattered as the two issues.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We are both.
Is focus?
We are both. Yeah.
Maybe at its most constructive
Attention,
one.
focus, attention, attention applied. Focus, attention applied.
To what?
A lot of things need attention applied. So you need to maintain, as part of your consciousness, as part of your focus ability. You have focus ability. And you can clear the lens, to clear the eyes. Focus, tuning in ability. See, all of that is because you are the originally own being, true being, just being. So from just being you can focus or diffuse perception. Being doesn't care, you care. Being doesn't care. It is just being. It's up to you, the karmic being, see, of self-preferences and self-programming and all the rest, to sort of reconcile the two. Right? The karmic being with the no-being origin, right? True nature. Much easier to deal with the karmic being once you know you are really the own being, true being, first. You have to understand that. First is true being. Own being, only being itself. And then there's self-being. You have to align the self-being with true being. It's also called practice. And good practice. Maybe best practice. Right? If there is such a thing. Already done. See? Already happening. Best practice.
This is really for me a session of having questions answered before they can come out. And
I have no idea what you're talking about. But so be it as it is. See? So that's the nature of it. See? There are no questions, no answers in a sense. The questions and the answers all wrapped up. Yeah. And timelessness. And that's the real event. Are we able to tolerate timelessness while we are engaged in our, let's say, worldly activities, basically time-space activities? Yeah. And we have to tolerate reconciling both. See? And there's nothing to tolerate. It just is that way already. So just be okay with it. See? So then it's a matter of being okay with it. And knowing what the being is first, original being is, well enough so that you can step out of it to self-being and come right back to it, or not come right back to it. See? You just know that you are original being, always, once, always, not just momentarily. See, not because you stepped out of your little meditation box. See, now you're a self-being, and then you got to go back to the meditation box for recovering your true being and so on. No, it's not that crazy. No, see, your body is your meditation box. See, and then it's really a matter of what your mind is willing to be, in the context of being the meditation box, being the refuge already. See, being your own refuge. See, being your own sort of Dharma center, in a sense. See, not self-center, say Dharma center. See, origin of all the creations that are part of your idea of what you have to do, what you've been and who you are and so on and so forth, why and all the rest of the questions. So center point, spirit, pure spirit first, and then everything else is whatever you layer on top of it. And your survival and success is more or less dependent upon the origin and the basis for anything and everything you have to do as a self. So self transcended into itself is more success, in a manner of speaking. So to be self-limiting, self-limitation has to be transcended. So, it's a useful view, and you need to use that view, but nobody is a view. We have to understand that beingness itself is not anything. So, and it's capable of everything, so very tricky place to be. See, when you are entered into own beingness, see, when you have that reality to work from, see, and it is a reality. It's not an up or down place. It has no location. See, it's nowheresness. See, that's what the spirit means. No material reference for it. It's gone. See, always here, already gone. See? Amen. You amen. Always here and already gone paradox. So get comfortable with the paradox. Enjoy the paradox. It's a warm tub. Right? Paradox.
You used the word meditation box in meditation. Just within the context we're talking about, can you precisely, or at least can you define
obvious.
meditation?
It's obvious. You're the meditation box. It's obvious.
What is meditation?
Well, you know what it is. You use it all the time. It's part of your conversation. It's part of your practice. In fact, you're being meditated on. You're being meditated by it. Right. And going back to attention. Attention. So there's meditation and meditator. See? And what is being meditated? Or mediated in this case. That's a very good proposition for anybody to more or less consider for themselves. Because you have the super unconscious, right? Where you go into deep sleep and you don't know what's going on with that, which is probably the safest place in the universe, actually. Because there's no you involved in it to fear or to enjoy whatever it is that's going on. See? And that's our true. See? How often do you refer to that as you? Okay? Never. See? It's not something you think about or think in terms of. See? But from the real being, from true being, that's what it is. See, it's the conscious, unconscious, so to speak, or something along those sort of verbal configurations. The awakened sleeper, one who's asleep but is awakened to it. Sleeping awake, waking, asleep. Paradox.
Are there certain sensations or let's just leave it at sensations associated with opening, with relaxing and getting closer to what we're talking about, which is own being?
Then the sensations would be about opening. Opening has its own sensations. It's its own experience, obviously. And closing is its own experience. It's its own heavy pressure. And opening is its own, awakening into light. Lightness. Expansion, let's say. Appropriate. Awareness. Opening the eyeballs, the eyelids in the morning. And you come into it. We're talking about a continual process. That is awakening. It's continual awakening. It's not just having awakened one day. No. You have to be awakening. You have to be in awakenness all the time, so to speak. Put a word in there. That's our potential. It's not our experience generally, but that's our potential. Regardless of what you're doing, and I think this conversation betrays, let's say, the dichotomous conversations about, you're working, you can't be doing that when you're working. No, who's working? What's working? It's always present. So what's working? To separate you from what it is. Nothing can work in that way. Okay. It's just that. It just is. So it's not about against. It's not for or against. It just is. We have to get to that point. And that's very important. The languaging there is very useful. For some. For others, it's just it's a musical instrument. Castanets. Right. Okay. So it's good that your background enables you to have this sort of moment of Zen-like receptivity. Zen-like, let's say. Whatever that means. Doesn't mean anything, right? Right. But quietness. Appreciation for the nounness, Zen-like. See? Valuing the real beingness of it all, Zen-like. And basicness, Zen-like. The reality of it, Zen-like. Vividness of it. See? Regardless of what is going on, whether it can be this, that, high and low, anywhere on the spectrum of your time, space line. See? Nothing changed. Nothing changes. You have to stay with that. Fact. It's not an opinion. See? You haven't changed. See? Since you're a being. You're always being your being, and that hasn't changed, regardless of what levels of consciousness and conditioning and culturing you have, and education and association and whatever the stuff is, nothing changed. Nothing will ever change. There's no change at all, right? And yet, the paradox, because we're saying the paradox is key to all of this. See? There's only change, and nothing changes. See? We can say the only thing is no change. No change. And that's the ever change. The no change is the total change. See? The paradox. And then we get to so what? Who cares about thinking about it? See? I have too much to do that I don't have to do. I would say good. That's a paradox. Then you're being used by the paradox. And nobody's conversation takes you out of what it is. So it's not about a conversation. You're hearing other people, they're really talking to themselves. They want you to be part of that. Hearing what they're saying to themselves. So you are what you need to get beyond. And you are what you need to realize at the same time. The question then is, how is it conducted without all the egotism? All the self-meditation and the self-wrangling and the self-confusing and the self-doubting and the self-limitation. So how is it the straight line to productivity? That's what practice is about. Real practice is going straight forward without all the politics of self involved. Strangulating the creative process because of qualification and expectation. Which are maybe justified necessities under certain conditions when we're talking about business, but we're not really talking about external business. We're talking about internal business right now, for the most part. If there could be such a thing, we're talking about the internal business of you and your thinking self and how you're working with your thinking self. Not to mention all your other selves. Your emotional self. Your sexual self. Right? Your past self, your present self, your future self. All of that. See? All the fragments. See? We want to melt all the fragment aspects into one kind of heart melt. It's just here. It's just now. It's just real and it's what's true. That's it. Clear. Simple. Basis. Foundation. Ground for what it is that needs to be done. Go back to the ground. You need to find those who can agree with you on the basis of the ground, in terms of your business or your social situations. So can we agree to the ground we are standing on right now? Is there ground at all? Ground. So we can say then it's a theoretical ground of operating from selflessness, which can equate with heartfulness, selflessness. Selflessness, heartfulness. We are originally selfless and heartful by fact. We're born without all the complications into a field of potential complications. And then once you get beyond that, and you see that you went from one potential, in terms of potential complication, to potential no complication. And so then we can qualify, let's say, what a young soul is, they have to have complications in order to see. Old souls don't need much of that. Very simple. I've done that before. Been there. It's much easier now. More healing. Yeah.
And does knowing about any of this particularly...
Well, you already know about it. You're already certain about it. Knowing about it is what it is. It's self-knowing. It's always here, already gone. Self-knowing, the paradox. Conversation about knowing is a whole other thing. Not knowing. But being from the being of the paradox, or the super no middle, the super no middle, is practice. And neutral basis for all negotiations and all situations. So you'll come back to this on your own, and know it for what it is, in truth and in spirit. Hugh.